need to tell me everything you did. You slept with him again and again. You lied to me over and over. I gave everything I had for this family. Absolutely everything. You threw it all away for what? For some young guy? You didn't think I would find out? You didn't think I would feel the pain? I knew something was wrong from the very first day because I know you, Connie. I know you completely. And right now I hate you. I didn't want to hurt him. I wanted to hurt you. Edward and Connie Sumner live in a wealthy area of Westchester County, New York, with their 8-year-old son, Charlie. Edward has a beautiful large house surrounded by nature, a loving wife, and a healthy son. Their family appears happy and content from the outside. They even have a maid named Gloria to help around the house. One very windy day, Connie decides to go shopping. She's carrying many shopping bags and can't get a taxi. She was buying things for Charlie's birthday party next week. While shopping in Soho, a strong gust of wind knocks Connie into a man named Paul Martell, and they both fall to the ground. Connie hurts her leg and her knees start bleeding. Paul offers to help her with first aid at his apartment, which is right next to where they fell. At Paul's apartment, he lets Connie use his bathroom to clean her wounds. Paul sells books for a living, and his apartment is filled with books everywhere. Paul is much younger than Edward. He's only 27 years old. He's very fit and speaks with a foreign accent. He also speaks French fluently. Paul is completely different from Edward, who only talks to Connie about missed business opportunities and stock investments. Edward often talks about money and investments, saying things like, "Remember when we were going to buy that stock and you said no? Do you remember what the price was?" This kind of talk bores Connie. Paul gently cleans and puts IT on Connie's leg. Then he puts his hand on hers while she's wearing a short skirt, showing that he's attracted to her. Connie only tells him her first name. She calls home to check on Charlie, telling Gloria she'll be about an hour late. Paul tells her his full name and age, and Connie says she's late and needs to leave. Before Connie goes, Paul insists she take a book with her. He shows her a special passage about living life to the fullest. The passage says something like, "Drink wine. This is eternal life. This is all that youth will give you. It's the season for wine, roses, and fun with friends. Be happy for this moment, because this moment is your life." When Connie gets home, her family sees her injured knee. Charlie wants to take pictures of her wounds, thinking it's cool. Edward jokingly asks if there's anyone they can sue. Connie mentions that a nice man helped her, and Edward teasingly asks if he was good-looking. Later, Connie calls Paul from Grand Central Station to thank him for his help. She wants to send him a bottle of wine as a thank you gift. Paul invites her to come over for coffee instead, and she agrees. During this visit, they flirt more. Paul shows her books written in Braille and teaches her some French phrases. The attraction between them grows stronger. On her third visit to Paul's apartment, they dance together and finally have sex. Paul tells Connie her eyes are amazing and she should never close them, even when sleeping. Connie feels conflicted, saying this is a mistake, but Paul tells her there are no mistakes, only things you do and don't do. On the train ride home, Connie feels both embarrassed about what happened and excited because she hasn't felt such passion with Edward in years. During their intimate moment, her body trembled with anticipation as Paul touched her. Connie was both crying and laughing at the same time from the intense emotions. Back at home, Connie frequently thinks about her time with Paul and keeps finding excuses to visit him again. Meanwhile, Edward becomes suspicious. When he tries to be intimate with his wife, she politely refuses and goes to bed. Edward notices she's wearing fancy lingerie and catches her in lies about where she's going. One day, Edward wants to have lunch with Connie, but she says she has an appointment at a beauty salon. Edward calls the salon later and discovers there was no appointment under Connie's name. His suspicions grow stronger. During one visit to see Paul, Connie runs into her friends Tracy and Sally, who drag her to a coffee shop. Connie calls Paul to say she's stuck with her friends. Paul comes to the same coffee shop, orders coffee, and goes to the bathroom. Connie follows him, and they have a quick, intimate encounter before coming out separately. At the coffee shop, Tracy tells the other women about having an affair years ago that ended her marriage. The women sympathize with her situation. Meanwhile, Edward fires his employee Bill for what he sees as disloyalty. Bill was looking for jobs at other companies. The angry employee tells Edward to look at his own family instead of worrying about loyalty. Edward hires a private investigator named Frank to follow his wife. Frank brings back photos that confirm the affair. He tells Edward that Connie visits Paul Martell at 433 Mercer Street, apartment 3, usually around lunchtime, and stays for 2 to 3 hours. One day, Connie is so distracted that she forgets to pick up Charlie from school. She realizes she can't continue the affair anymore and decides to end it with Paul. After seeing her son upset, she knows she has to stop hurting her family. After grocery shopping, Connie goes to Paul's apartment to end the relationship, but she sees him with another woman. She confronts him about how many women he's seeing. Paul lies and says the other woman is just a friend, but Connie knows he's lying. She tells him their affair is over and tries to leave. Paul follows Connie and forces himself on her in the hallway. She tries to fight him off and asks him to stop, but she's still attracted to him. Eventually, she gives in and they have sex in the hallway of his building. Edward gets Paul's address from the private investigator and goes to visit him. Connie barely misses seeing Edward as she leaves Paul's building. Paul lets Edward into his apartment and offers him a drink. Edward asks how Paul met his wife, and Paul explains about the Windy Day accident. During their conversation, Edward notices a snow globe that he had given to Connie as a gift. When he asks Paul where he got it, Paul says it was a gift from Connie. Edward realizes that his wife gave away something meaningful that he had given her. In a moment of rage and confusion, Edward hits Paul in the head with the snow globe, killing him instantly. While cleaning up, Edward hears Connie's voice message on Paul's answering machine. In the message, Connie is ending the affair, saying she can't live with the lies anymore and is tired of hurting her family. Edward erases the message, puts Paul's body in his car trunk, and dumps it at a landfill. Police detectives find Connie's phone number at Paul's apartment and visit the Sumner home. Paul's estranged wife had reported him missing. Connie is shocked to learn that Paul was married and claims she barely knew him. Days later, Paul's body is found, and the police return to tell Edward and Connie the news. At the dry cleaner, Connie finds the photographs of herself and Paul in Edward's clothes. She's shocked and wonders how Edward got these pictures. Edward and Connie host a party at their home to show their art collection to friends. A guest notices the snow globe back in their collection. When Connie confronts Edward privately, he reveals that he knew about her affair all along. Edward breaks down emotionally, too, hulking about how hard he worked to give her and Charlie a good life. He accuses her of being ungrateful and throwing away everything for an affair with a young man. Edward confesses that he wanted to kill her, not Paul. A few days later, Connie finds a hidden compartment in the snow globe. Inside is an old photo of Edward, herself, and baby Charlie, along with a message that says, "To my beautiful wife, the best part of every day." Realizing how much Edward truly loved her, she burns all the incriminating photographs. When Edward offers to turn himself into the police, Connie refuses to let him. They decide to resume their normal life together. Later, while driving home, Edward stops at a red light next to a police station. Connie imagines they could leave the country and start new lives with different identities. Edward agrees it sounds perfect, but they both know it's just a fantasy. The story ends with them sitting in their car, knowing they must live with what happened and trying to rebuild their marriage despite the tragedy they've caused.